This kid's name is T.S. Spivet. He looks happy when he plays with his twin brother, Leighton. They both live with their families on a farm in Montana. Even though their family seemed happy, he had to accept the fact that all his family members, especially his father, loved Leighton more than him. Leighton grew up like his father, who liked cowboys. Even his father taught Leighton to aim precisely at things, while Spivet grew up like his mother, who is a scientist. He often makes research or discoveries related to science. Maybe this is why his father abandoned him. One day, when Spivet and his brother were playing in the shed, somehow Leighton had an accident that made him pass away. After that, his family never talked about Leighton and the accident again. A few months later, Spivet secretly attended a lecture. There, a professor was explaining the concept of energy in machines. The professor challenges them all to build any machine that has unlimited energy. Spivet accepted the professor's challenge seriously, but the professor ignored him since it was impossible for a kid. A year passed. Spivet got a call from Mrs. Jibson, a deputy minister for the Smithsonian Institute, a renowned research institute and museum in Washington, D.C. Hearing that, he pretended to call his father. He lied that his father was mute, and pretended to be a translator for his father. Mrs. Jibson reported that his magnetic wheel machine had won him a prestigious award called Spencer Baird Awards, and asked Spivet to prepare a speech for his victory. Afraid that his lie would be exposed, he said that he couldn't attend because he was busy. He asked his sister what to do, hoping to find a solution to the problem. But instead of being happy about his brother's achievement, his sister thought that he was just dreaming, because a fool like him couldn't possibly get an award at such a prestigious event. It wasn't just his family who thought he was stupid. At school, his teacher thought of him as an ignorant student. Even his teacher was very upset because his essay assignment was out of the scientific theory being taught, despite him having his writing sent to a magazine and got published. Instead of being amazed, the teacher got irritated and claimed that a dopey kid like him couldn't have done it. He went home feeling very sad, not to mention when his father suddenly asked him to help him dredge the dry river. He thought that his father asked him for help because Leighton was gone. He felt miserable because his parents never thought about him. In the past, he had designed a hydrological machine that could calculate water flow, but his father ordered him to throw away the toy he thought was useless. That night, his mother invited him to go out of town to look for a collection of species that she would research, but he refused by lying that he had homework to do. He was forced to lie because he was going to the Smithsonian Institute.
And finally I had my teddy bear, Big Jojo. In the morning, my suitcase.
Before leaving, he wrote letters to his family and visited Leighton's room. In despair, he said goodbye to his twin brother's room. In front of the house, he met his father, who was riding in a truck, but his father ignored his leave, making him even more convinced of his decision. Finally, he left using Leighton's wagon to carry his bag. With his intelligence, he can calculate the speed of his footsteps so as not to miss the train and color the traffic light with a red marker to stop the train. But when he was about to get on, suddenly the train officers caught him. Luckily, with his ingenuity, he managed to get on the train safely. He even fantasized if his twin brother accompanied his adventure. After several hours of traveling, the train finally stopped at a station in Casper, Wyoming. There, he looked worried when the train officers began to check the carriage he was riding in. Luckily, he could save himself by getting into the van the train was carrying. For several days, he only spent his time in the van. In his heart, he said that life would be like a game over if he never put in the effort. So he didn't want to waste this opportunity. One night when the train arrived at a station, he saw a food truck selling hot dogs. He quietly got out of the carriage to buy them. But when they were about to pay, suddenly a police officer came and put up a poster of a missing child with a picture of him. Luckily, the seller didn't leak his whereabouts. When he returned to the train, he called his family and told them he was fine. After that, he returned to continue his journey. Amid his loneliness, he could only hold back his sadness. He missed his family, especially when he read his mother's diary that he had stolen. There, he found various writings about himself, Leighton, and his sister. Even his mother kept his communication chart with his family. The chart showed that his father never made eye contact with him, which made his mother blame herself. Seeing that, he felt very sad. Long story short, Spivet finally arrived at his destination station. After getting off the train safely, he hid his suitcase and brought only some of the things he needed. When he was about to leave the station, a policeman caught him and thought he was a delinquent who liked to scribble on walls. Despite his managing to escape, he had to endure the pain of the injuries he received when he ran away from the police.
Thanks for the exercise, but what are you gonna do? You gonna jump? No! Hey! Hey, hang on! Oh, Jesus. Come on, you can do it! Come on! Oh, you little shit.
Not to mention that his compass was damaged. Bearing the pain, he went to the streets to find a ride. Luckily, a guy driving a truck was willing to give him a ride. Concerned about Spivet's condition, this man advised him to have his wound checked at the hospital. But he refused the suggestion because he did not want to waste time. The next day, he looked excited when he saw the Smithsonian Institute building in front of his eyes. Before leaving, he said goodbye to this man and expressed his gratitude. After that, he immediately went to the receptionist. One of the employees was worried about him since he looked pale, but Spivet didn't care because he only wanted to see Mrs. Jibson. Not long after, Mrs. Jibson appeared. Spivet confessed his lies about his father a few days ago. He also said that the founder of the magnetic will machine was him. Hearing that, Mrs. Jibson couldn't believe it. But after Spivet explained the basic theory of the mechanism, Mrs. Jibson immediately trusted him. Before giving the speech, Mrs. Jibson took Spivet to the doctor to have his wound checked. Fortunately, there was nothing serious about his condition. Mrs. Jibson was very proud of Spivet's ingenuity and intelligence that succeeded in creating a machine with unlimited energy that worked for 400 years. Long story short, the day of the award came. In his speech, Spivet only said 3 things. First, he thanked them for their trust in his machine. Then he explained the basic theory of the creation of his magnetic will machine. And lastly, Spivet told everyone his twin brother had died. At that time, Spivet had an idea to study sound waves and asked Leighton to shoot a box while he was in charge of researching sound waves. But the weapon Leighton was holding encountered a problem that made him accidentally get shot. Panic, Spivet immediately told his father. It was the toughest day for him because Leighton was gone forever. Since that day, he always blamed himself and thought his family hated him even more. Hearing his story, everyone was moved and gave applause as a sign of encouragement for him. Unexpectedly, it turns out that his mother was also present at the event. With teary eyes, the mother left. After that, Spivet became more and more famous. He managed to become the youngest scientist in the world while Mrs. Jibson continued exploiting his innocence to become his goldfield. Until one day, Mrs. Jibson scheduled Spivet to broadcast live on a TV station. Initially, Spivet answered all of the host's questions as ordered by Mrs. Jibson, but secretly, the TV station invited his mother to take part in the interview. There, the mother expressed her anxiety and sadness since Spivet's disappearance. His mother also told him that her family never blamed him for Leighton's death. The mother also apologized for failing to be a good mother. Hearing that, Spivet was moved and immediately hugged his mother. Outside, the father greeted them both, and for the first time, Spivet felt the warmth of his father. Earlier, when Spivet went on the venture, it turned out that his father did not see Spivet because he was busy picking up something fallen in his car. In the end, Spivet continued his hobby of creating new inventions, including perpetual machines for his new brother.
Machine.